Hi everyone, welcome to my talk. So I'm in the way of the projector. I'm Tom Wise. I am one of the engineering leads for a company called Adama that offer managed service and consult services. I am also, there is a reason for it, a sergeant at arms at a local HEMA club, which is Historical European Martial Arts Club, and there is a bit of shameless self-promotion there with the pictures as well. So what is SOAR? Well, SOAR is security orchestration, automation and response. So basically dealing with security events with machine capability, generally backed up by some sort of Python or Java or some sort of language underneath. But SOAR is also a weapon in your cyber arsenal. It's basically something you can use to both defend against and attack, right? Both offensively and defensively to your attackers. And obviously at machine speed as well, because we're now talking at, parallelization at quite a high level. Like any weapon, though, without the proper training and technique, it can be highly inefficient and risky to use, especially if you're using it at the sort of speed and volume that we're having to use it at nowadays. So bear with me on this one. But this is basically a really old rule set used for people that fight in a fencing club. So it says every single fencer is obliged to start the duel according to the tradition, unlike a peasant who runs insanely for a weapon, grabs it and wants to beat with it like a witless ox. The reason I bring this in is, in my experience in the last 6-7 years now with SOAR, the first thing that any company does when they buy this big, shiny new tool of SOAR is they go after phishing. And anyone will know who's tried to tackle phishing in the past, it is one of the biggest beasts that you can tackle because there's all different IOC types, all different vectors, all different sort of ways of getting through your defenses. And so usually they just beat at it and then they end up, delaying things, backlogging things. And really what you need to do is you need to focus on the basics. So the last slide on swords, with a demonstration, I might add, for those of you who are here. So on the left here, you've got what's called the Maya Square, which teaches you basically 4 basic attacks. But what it also does is it teaches you all of the defenses to the attack that comes from the other way. So just by doing the same attack, and if you think about this as in, you'll find a hash in your environment, you find it's bad, you block it, what does the attacker have to do? Just change a little thing, and that hash is now a new hash. And you're doing that constant kind of dance with the attackers at this point. But what you want to eventually do is you want to use that experience to kill the fight quick, right? With all security events, we want to kill that quick, whether it's a false positive, get it out of the way. Preferably don't even put it in front of an analyst, or if it's really bad, let's act straight away. Otherwise, let's at least put it in some other bucket of categorization. And to do that, you use your experience to do what's called, in sword fighting, a master stroke. So you hide behind a normal stroke, but you pull it in to gain the center, and then you threaten the adversary. And then depending on the risk, as in like how they react to that, you can do different things. If they don't react, you just go over the top, stab them in the face, fight's over. If they give you a little bit of a nudge, you can pull it over the top, killing blow to the head. If they try and go really hard, then you go around the outside, and then again, you kill the fight. That is everything sword fighting, so apologies if that wasn't what you were here for. So, the current state in security operations. So, obviously high volume alerts coming in at the moment. Ticket fatigue is a thing. The amount of cognitive load that we're putting on analysts nowadays is quite high as well. But there is a skill shortage in the market. Millions. The last report is saying worldwide there is a massive shortage in kind of out of the box or ready to go security analysts. While you're training up new people, your backlog continues to grow. So, you are focusing on the training, but that backlog, you've brought in all these new people for a reason. And so your backlog does continue to grow. Then when you do finally get them out of that training, you throw them at this backlog. And because they're generally new, you don't always have the time to supervise them properly. Fast and undetermined decisions can be made. And obviously things can be missed, things can be slipped. And obviously the idea of SOAR is to provide that kind of consistent framework. And also risk-based response provides a framework to use within SOAR. And obviously the eventuality of this is all of your, well, not all, hopefully, but your analysts do then leave because they're not really doing stuff that makes them feel good. They're generally high percent of false positives that they're dealing with, so they're not actually getting into the nitty-gritty of security. With a future risk-aware state, once you've got risk-based response and other kind of risk awareness in action, is the first thing you do is you immediately reduce the number of tickets an analyst gets because you can already kind of put the known bad stuff quick, the known good stuff out of the way. What that then allows you to do is also highly enrich all these events. So when you've deemed that this is a viable event in some way, shape or form that needs to go in front of an analyst, you can enrich it because, again, you can do thousands of events at the same time. You already know how you want to enrich it and present that information to an analyst. So all they have to do is go, yes, that's bad, or no, that's okay. They also then can focus on the real sort of high-end security alerts that come through, because all your false positives and lower-level stuff is generally going to be handled by this framework. What that allows them to do is gain understanding of better techniques, tactics used. You can then profile your attackers, because let's be fair, risk is different for every organization and every company. So you need to sort of be able to tailor it. And then the main thing about, I guess, the framework that I'm talking about today is the feedback mechanism. So get your analysts to feed that back into the risk-based model to allow you to enhance that and, again, further make those decisions quicker and more efficiently. So risk-based response is a term I came up with probably about 4 years ago now, I think, when I delivered a talk at the Splunk conference. And what it really looks to do, and I know it's going to sound incredibly simple, is it really just looks to put your events into 3 primary categories, which is known good, known bad, and suspicious. So known good is like, if, for example, if it's a phishing campaign, but it's come from you think it's a phishing campaign, but it's come from internal email servers, or vendors that you already know send out campaigns. Things like that. That's generally known good and benign, and you can just be pushed to the side, not even put in front of an analyst. Known bad, one or more of the indicators or items inside of that event has been deemed to be bad by something that you trust, right? And so therefore, again, those are known bad, going to tackle those a different way and speedy to reduce the impact. But everything else in the middle, which, let's be fair, is going to be a bigger bucket, is kind of, you're not quite sure at the moment, and even the automation wouldn't be able to determine that straight away, so we put it into the bucket. But what it does allow you to do is it allows you to still classify from a risk score. So you're going to get the known good, known bad, but your suspicious bucket is still going to be prioritized by a risk score. So how do you start with risk-based response? Well, let's be fair, analysts will be doing this already, right? You will already have processes or things that they look for in the relevant tools that they use in order to understand the impact or potential impact of an event, and therefore that will then dictate what actions they will take. But what you want to really do is you want to try and standardize it across your the SOC, right? Because there is some standardization, but they might use their knowledge. Bob might use his knowledge a bit differently. And what you want to do is you want to correlate all of that together so that you can get it as a standardized kind of enrichment, and then you start building this risk-based response on top. So you don't really necessarily have to do anything or buy anything new tool, but you just have to standardize it and bring it all together. Obviously, some examples are, reputational sandbox services, VirusTotal, Threat Connect, etc. Some have on-prem and cloud variants. It just depends. But the good thing about SOAR is it's generally able to access any API. So, and even if there isn't an API, there is some other ways of doing things with SOAR for SSH, or if there's a Python library that allows you to communicate with things, for example. Pardon me. But also things reaching into things like CMDBs, change tools. So if you get an event about something happening on the network, can you reach into your change system and see if it was an approved change? Because if you can, that's a known good. I don't need to see that anymore. And then also you get, your data lakes and your SIEMs, such as Splunk, like we sang about this morning, which I was happy to see, Sentinel, and obviously AWS with their security data lake coming soon as well. So start cooking. So when I talk about risk-based response in your own special source, as I said before, you'll get vendors that will give you their risk scores, but you don't necessarily have access to how they've formulated that score. And so, of course, bring it into the risk-based response model, but don't necessarily rely on just one vendor's, because, again, they might not be aware of your specific bespoke risk requirements. So again, as I said before, capture all of the things that your SOC do with existing integrations, perform a gap analysis. Are we actually getting everything to make this consistently deployable in an automation tool? Build a scoring matrix, which I'll talk about in a second, to gather all those data points and then assign some scoring to a good, bad, and suspicious sort of category. And then the main thing you need to do before you really start laying down any code is, what is my scoring system? Am I going to go on a 1 to 10 basis? Am I going to go 1 to 100? And what does each one mean, right? What is my known bad? Act straight away. What is my benign? I'm not going to even send that to an analyst. And then what is my everything else in the middle? So this is a very basic example of a scoring matrix. It's a paper-based exercise or spreadsheet-based exercise that you would need to do. I recommend version controlling it, keeping it as a document that can be organically updated, because this will lay the foundation for the code that you write into your automation tool to then work out, if this is this, then add this score sort of thing. Obviously, you would never use just one data point potentially, but I'm trying to show you've got this 4 standard IOC types with maybe some of the well-known enrichment services. But then you've also got other things you can go after, like usernames, device enrichment, header enrichment. There's all sorts of additional enrichment opportunities that you could definitely capture on this spreadsheet or even add to it as you go forward. So the process at the moment is probably well known by a lot of people if they've ever worked inside of a SOC. It can take you anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes to gather information on just one indicator. So if you've got an event that has 10, 20 plus indicators, you can imagine eventually that is going to take up a lot of time. And even if we're talking 20, 30 minutes, that's too long, at least to get to the point of understanding how bad it is. A lot of the risk and the prioritization decisions are kind of left to the analyst at that time because they're copying and pasting, they're trying to understand as they're doing that. And you can't really understand the risk or potential until you've at least understood generally what the event's actually about and how bad it might actually be. False positives, as I've discussed already, make up a large proportion of wasted time in a SOC as well. So if there is some way that we can get rid of even half of those, then already your SOC analysts are enabled to do a lot more. As I said before, if your average triage is about 30 minutes for most events, in ransomware, that's the difference between operational and compromised, right? So again, you want to be able to really finish that fight quickly, understand, is this good, is this bad, does it need more investigation? And at least if it needs more investigation and it's a very risky one, but hasn't made the threshold for the bad, it's still going to be the first one that gets tackled by your analysts. So with an simple early implementation of risk-based response, you automatically get all of your events enriched. So no longer copying and pasting into events from the basic stuff. You might still need to go out and do some extra intelligence gathering, but all of your basic enrichment and the presenting of that data to an analyst is all now done in parallel, multiple events at the same time. So again, this is before they even touched it. The automation does all of this stuff for them. It will then work out a score and provide that prioritization. And if you set those scoring limits up in your playbook, then you can get into those 3 buckets that we were talking about. And again, the queue, even if it is in a suspicious queue, is still prioritized via a risk score. And you've reduced the amount of false positives already coming into the SOC just by implementing something like this. We implemented it for one customer. One use case, phishing, ironically, and we saw a 67% reduction in false positives actually going to the analyst. So again, put that back into the time spent on an average event. That's half an hour per event, and this was a large financial organization, so they saved many hours with a simple implementation of risk-based response. So more mature, obviously you've got all the benefits of the early implementation, but now you've got high-severity events are acted upon immediately because you've become more confident that the risk scores that the SOAR platform is providing you is valid, right? So you're like, okay, that one can just now be almost end-to-end automated. I would always recommend maybe leaving at least one checkpoint in there, like an approver of some description before taking action on a firewall or something like that, unless, of course, you are absolutely sure that all those decisions are correct. So I just get distracted by the train flying by. Also, your analyst decisions become a lot quicker and more accurate as well because you're presenting them with all the information that they need and they're just ready to go. They're not having to go off, copy and paste and do all this. All they need to do is understand what you've presented to them and generally just make that decision of, yes, this is good, leave it alone, or no, this is bad, let's do something. But then the final bit, as I said earlier, with the framework is the feedback loop. So with this just being simply a spreadsheet exercise that can evolve, because let's be fair, attack vectors evolve, attackers evolve, so there'll always be new things to look out for. So just keep feeding back into this model. So keep that spreadsheet version controlled, always keep it up to date. And also the main benefit with SOAR in general as well, but especially after you've implemented something like this, is your analysts are freed up now. So they've got a lot of tasks to do. They can also feed back into it. So I've seen customers do like monthly competitions where the SOC will recommend what they want to automate. Most of them is like automate the annoying. So whatever the SOC get asked to do and roll their eyes every time they're asked to do it, automate it with the SOAR platform. But, I didn't realize it was going to be that dark. So because we're heavily reliant on this risk score that we're calculating though, trust but verify. So what that means is because you're potentially going to make some pretty big decisions or do some pretty big response actions based on this score, you need to know that that score has been calculated properly. And by doing so, what you need to do is go back over. So once you've finished all your enrichment, have the platform go back over and just check for any failures. If there was any failures, inform the analyst, say, look, we've come up with this score based on what we know, but there's been some issues in that calculation, so please just go back and verify it. It might end up being false, it might end up rising the priority, but just let them know, because if we're going to make fully automated decisions off this risk score, we need to know that it is definitely correct. And then as you get more confident, like I say, you can just remove that checkpoint and start fully automating things. Don't know how we're doing for time. No, just for time. I said I'd shave a little bit of time off. Right, you can't see these pictures very well, so I do apologize. So I do, as you saw at the beginning, I have a Splunk Fairs. I'm part of the Splunk Trust, which is just community members, but this is a playbook that looks inside Splunk SOAR. Now, this is an all-enrichment playbook, one enrichment playbook to rule them all, where I basically have a bunch of the other type of playbooks all running at the same time. So I've got like a file line there, I think that's a domain or URL one, and then another one there. And then at the end, as you can see in the middle, I just aggregate all those scores together, because I'm not providing scores per indicator. I want a contextual score of the entire event, because that allows me to do that initial prioritization. Also, I have these playbooks set up so that basically they will have a gateway at the beginning of every playbook to say, have I even got any work to do? Because this gets around race conditions. Because if you sent like them all down the same playbook and some of them didn't work and you had the aggregation piece that was waiting for them all to finish, then it wouldn't work. So to get past that, I build the playbooks so that they will still complete properly, so that if something is waiting for everything to complete, it will complete in time. But it's just basically best practice within at least this platform anyway, probably should be in most other ones. Then this bit is just all about getting the information, making it pretty, presenting it back to an analyst in something as simple as a table. You could do it, depending on the SOAR platform you're using, you could present it in all sorts of different ways. This is Markdown supported, so it could be Markdown, HTML, or any other way as well that you can present that information. It's got to be easily ingestible, right? From an analyst, needs to be able to go, yeah, that's bad. And then we just do a little bit of code. Again, it's really simple. It is just get the data points, do if statements to say if it's this, and this is where we go back to your scoring matrix. If it equals this, then okay, that's 5 points, and accumulate that score into a single list and then aggregate it at the end and then pass it out as domain score, IP score, and then do further aggregation to get your container score or your event score, sorry. And then just pass out the information at the end. Sorry, I'm just going through some of these a little bit quicker. So this is a very basic playbook that will get you the categorization that we were talking about. So you've got the playbook to rule them all, which obviously has a few playbooks underneath it, but once that all completes, I have a decision that just says, right, what's the score? If it's high, it'll go around one way. If it's low, it'll go the other way. Otherwise, it will escalate it to an analyst and put it in front of them. So, I realized that was very fast, so thank you for holding with me. So this is just a quick recap, too long, didn't read. Start off with enrichment. Like, I know phishing is like a big, Moby Dick sort of thing, let's go after it. But if you can get the enrichment right, and if you can get it enhanced enrichment right, then all of the use cases just bolt on the side of it. Because let's be fair, every use case has an enrichment requirement in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, just finishing up in 30 seconds or so. So create a scoring matrix, version control it. Like I say, you might need to roll it back, or you might need to go, oh, why did we assign a score back at this particular one, but now that score's up? Because it does change, right? Things will change. If you've got a threat team that are constantly monitoring for things like this, you do get things that get downgraded and upgraded as well. So keep an eye on this and use it as a living document. Build further context with the risk-based response model. Use new data points or even new ones from existing integrations to get a better and more refined score. I said earlier, you can get the normal kind of indicator enrichment, but consider user, device, header, and any other type of enrichment that you can have access to from a SOAR platform. Once it's installed or once it's running nicely, you can just bolt on all of the use cases. And the really important thing is validating that risk score, because you've got to have confidence. Like the SOAR customers will have like a Skynet sort of worry about SOAR taking over the world, and they have all this worry about, but it's just going to start blocking stuff that it shouldn't be. It could do if you write stuff badly in it. So if you can get confidence in this score and prove to even people who don't understand the technology that it's always making the right decision, then you get a lot more buy-in and a lot more help in order to build your SOAR capabilities. And that's everything. Thank you for listening.